Hello, Newsmax Daily Podcast listeners. It is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Kay Smythe-Hill here, filling in again for Tony Marino, who is on vacation and will be back Monday. We're into another day of the government shutdown. Not that anyone has really noticed. Last night, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, joined Greta Van Susteren for a superb interview on the ins and outs of this ridiculous political posturing.
Mr. Speaker, the Republicans say that the whole issue here is that the Democrats are trying to get illegal health care benefits for immigrants who are not here in this country legally. And they say it's not true. So can you tell me, are the Democrats trying to get health care benefits for people here illegally or not?
They absolutely are, and you don't have to take our word for it. You can look at what they filed in the record. See, we passed a clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution, a simple stopgap funding measure to keep the government open. No partisan pills or priorities in that, just a simple, nonpartisan matter that Chuck Schumer already voted for in March. We put it on the floor again, we passed it through the House, and we sent it to the Senate. Now, instead of just doing the reasonable thing to keep the government open for the people, Chuck Schumer sent a counter proposal. We had a clean CR. He sent us a dirty CR, Greta. That's one way to say it. Now, part of that CR, just one part of the crazy things in there, is that he wants to add $1.5 trillion in new spending. And part of that is to restore health care to illegal aliens. Now, why do we say that? Because in the bill, look, anybody can Google this. Pull up his bill that he filed. It's in writing, page 57, section 2141. They want to repeal the health care provisions of the one big beautiful bill that we passed and got signed into law on July 4th. What we did in that bill was a lot of great things for the country, but very importantly, we prevented illegal aliens, these tens of millions of people that President Biden allowed into the country with a wide open border in 4 years. We made sure that they cannot get taxpayer-funded benefits, including health care. That comports with federal law. We cleaned it up. We made sure it happened. And this is important too, Greta. The Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, which is the nonpartisan arbiter of everything's here on the Hill, they came out with a letter, a report on August 25th, a few weeks ago. And they said that that bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill, did exactly what we said. It is going to bring down the cost of health care. Why? Because we're kicking ineligible recipients off of the program. Medicaid is intended for young pregnant women, the elderly, and the disabled that are U.S. citizens and nobody else. And so we're going to save $185 billion is the estimate in the program by kicking off illegals and young able-bodied men without dependents who are riding the wagon. We are saving the program. They want to repeal that, and that's a major problem.
Well, let me see if I understand this right. Continuing resolution that this is an appropriation for the year beginning October 1st, which obviously didn't get appropriated. So what you're operating off, if you have what I call a clean CR, is what was appropriated a year ago under a different administration. Is that correct? You're not changing what President Biden had and the last Congress had?
That's right. These are Biden-era policies. So, of course, we'd like to change that. We want to have our own conservative priorities, but just to allow time for the appropriators to do that, we need 7 more weeks. So this is a stopgap funding measure, very simple, very clean, to keep the government open and operating until November 21st to allow the appropriators the time to go through and do that very thing. Congress is supposed to enact 12 separate appropriations bills every year. It hasn't worked that way in a long time, Greta. Usually, everybody's heard of the omnibus spending bills that are jammed on everybody at the end of the year before Christmas. That's no way to run a railroad. And so we've been trying to force back the muscle memory to get Congress to work the way it's supposed to. And we've made great strides. We just ran out of clock. So we just need a little more time. The end of the fiscal year was on September 30th. They wouldn't allow us to keep the government open, to keep the process moving. And that's the problem. And that's why real Americans are not going to be harmed, really, seriously, because of these actions.
So just to get this straight, is that you're not asking for anything except more time. You're just basically saying we need, as we say in the courtroom, a continuance until another day. You're not asking for anything more, but so that the Democrats and Republicans, the House and the Senate, can sit down. You don't want anything more until November 21st.
It's exactly like a continuance in court, exactly, for all of our lawyer friends. This is not an argument on the substance or the merits of the case. We just need more time. That's it. And Chuck Schumer won't grant it. And here's what's important. Everybody wants to know, why would he do that? Because, gosh, Chuck Schumer's the leader of the Democrats. He's been in Washington for decades, and he's always gone out and given these long speeches about how government shutdowns are dangerous and selfish and destructive. Well, they still are, but he's changed his tune. Why? And here's the simple fact. Vice President J.D. Vance said it very clearly today. I've been saying it on interviews. Chuck Schumer is scared of his own shadow. He's afraid that AOC and the far left, base of his party is going to challenge him in his next Senate race. And so he has to do this for selfish reasons to show that he's fighting so he doesn't get challenged from his far left. Chuck Schumer is a far left Democrat himself, but that's why he's doing it.
Let's pop on over now to the Chris Salcedo show, where Chris spoke to former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows on how Schumer and Jeffries have, quote, messed up in their roles.
You don't work, you don't get paid. That's a concept lost among Democrats. However, Florida Republican Senator Rick Scott proposing a bill saying no budget, no pay, and is fighting to fully eliminate federal government shutdowns if approved by bipartisan support. The bill is aimed to reshaping congressional budget procedures, transforming how gaps in funding are handled. This might be preferable to Congress's current strategy on budgets. Just ignore the law. Congress has not passed a budget in 28 years. For more, we're joined by former conservative congressman, and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. It's good to see you, sir. Whenever the GOP shut down the government in the past, it was to protect American citizens and taxpayers, to restrain government's bad behavior. The Democrats have decided that they're going to shut down the government on behalf of illegal aliens. This is quite something. Are they proving to be the hypocritical America last folks we conservatives have been saying they are?
Well, obviously, what we're seeing is not only the hypocrisy hitting at unbelievable levels in Washington, D.C., but what we're also seeing is they're running away from that whole narrative that you were talking about, Chris. The very fact that they want to expand health care for illegal aliens that are in our country. And they're trying to say, no, it's not about that. But it is about that. And it's about one other thing, Chris. It's about trying to make sure that the president bends a knee to their will. And I can just tell you, having served with this president, having been with him while I was in Congress through multiple shutdowns, this is not going to end well for the Democrats, because they're really bargaining with not much leverage. And yet the president is very well prepared, and he's going to speak on behalf of the American people.
Yeah, if they can't rule over us, Congressman, the Democrats will just burn it all down. That's pretty much seems to be where they're going. You know, Americans are kind of sick and tired. Taxpayers are sick and tired of paying for, quote, non-essential government. If you were advising President Trump, how would you go about eliminating positions that cost Americans billions of dollars a year and are not part of America's constitutional framework?
Well, Chris, you know, the hardest thing to actually get done is to fire a federal worker. And that's where Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer have messed up this time around. Russ Vought, obviously, I worked with Russ in the first Trump administration. I worked with him when he was at a nonprofit, the Center for Renewing America. And I know what he's been working towards is trying to keep the government open. But if it were not open, as obviously happened at midnight last night, he's very well prepared. And so the American people that you're talking about, Chris, they're about to see right sizing in terms of the federal government. It'll take probably another 48 hours before we start to see the headlines, but you're going to see tens of thousands of people get asked to use their talents elsewhere, and not with the ripcord that they can actually have a parachute. In previous shutdowns, they actually got a furlough, they got a paid vacation, and then they came back and got their money back. This is going to be different, where they're actually going to have a reduction in workforce. A lot of the people I'm talking to right now didn't want to shut down, including the president. He didn't want to shut down. But what's going to be the silver lining is we're going to see some real reduction in spending and workforce in the federal government.
Sir, I've only got about a minute left, but I wanted to get your reaction to what the Secretary of War did yesterday in putting our fighting forces back on the right track, restoring the mission of our armed forces. What was your reaction, sir?
Listen, I applaud Secretary Hegseth for what he's doing. He's had the boldness to be able to do it. I can tell you that for far too long, we've been about fighting a liberal narrative instead of fighting our enemy. And so we're doing what is right. So God bless Secretary Hegseth and his effort. I look forward to seeing more to come there.
Pivoting now over to Greg Kelly, who spoke to Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization, Eric Trump, last night about how the younger Trump brother became the most subpoenaed person in American history. This is a truly fascinating interview, and I hope you listen to the full clip over on Newsmax's YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe if you do.
Eric Trump was one of his father's strongest defenders, and his new book is called Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. It really was a family effort. He is also the executive vice president of the Trump Organization. Eric Trump, son of the president, welcome back. And wow, you made it, and so did America. Yeah. How do you feel?
Listen, the book just went to #1 on Amazon in virtually every category, so I feel awfully good, Greg, to say the least. But, I mean, they tried to kill us. I mean, I was outside the courthouse in that little clip that you just played there defending my father because they gag ordered him about 200 times, every crooked judge. But they impeached him once. They impeached him again. They made up the dirty dossier. They spied on his campaign. They made up Russia collusion. They had FBI calling me to say that we had servers in our basement that were communicating with the Kremlin, which was nonsense. They took him off of Twitter. They took him off of Instagram. They took him off of Facebook. They raided our home. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They went through Melania's closet. They went through Barron's room. They took him off, the ballot in Colorado. Then they took him off the ballot in Maine. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. I got 112 subpoenas. I was in a deposition every single day. They tried to bankrupt our company. They tried to deplatform us. They tried to debank us. Every bank, Capital One and all the rest of them, were shutting down our bank accounts all day long. They were hitting us with $500 million cash judgments for doing absolutely nothing wrong. Greg, it was a siege. And I came up with this name about 2 years ago, long before I ever started writing the book. And then they tried to kill my father in Butler, and then they tried to kill him again at the golf course. And you saw what they just did to Charlie Kirk, and you saw what they tried to do to Kavanaugh. And you saw what they did to Steve Scalise. They have put our family, they have put our movement, they have put all of us, including all of the people watching right now, they have put them under siege. And honestly, I had to tell the inside story.
Well, I can't wait. What a story. What you just summarized. Amazing. And I'm guessing in that book, I mean, you were tested by fire. And look at you now. Your father's the president, victorious, making America great again. Do you talk about how you changed? I mean, you were a great guy before all this. You went through crisis and you triumphed. That's got to entail a lot of growing, a lot of testing, a lot of learning, and a lot of, I don't know. How did it change you?
I mean, Greg, you've known me for what, 20 or 30 years at this point. We've known each other since the New York days, and obviously, your father, and for so long. I mean, listen, I think we were naive going into politics, and I'll never forget my father saying to us, kids, you're going to learn who your true friends are, and you're going to learn very, very quickly who your true friends are. All of us will. But I'm going to give this a go. Let's give this a go. I mean, we didn't have anybody else. No one believed in us. We didn't have any, senators endorsing or congressmen endorsing. You know who we had, Greg? We had ourselves. We had our own hearts. We had our own voice pieces. We had our own backbone. And we fought. I mean, we were at a 5-1 deficit against Hillary Clinton in 2016. My father largely funded his entire, presidential campaign, against all odds. And we won because we stood on that stage. We won because we worked our butts off. We won because we wore through shoes. I mean, I did thousands of rallies. I stood on every tractor in every swing state with a bullhorn in my hand, doing exactly what I'm doing now. And they couldn't take it. The Washington Post, exactly 12 minutes after my father was sworn in as president, came out with a big editorial piece. This is when the impeachment of Donald Trump began. They didn't even give him a shot before they started waging legal lawfare on him. And that's what I talked about in the book. And there were some low moments. I mean, I sat in the courtroom with my father during all of those trials. There were some horribly, horribly low moments. But the great part about the story is we won. The MAGA movement won. The conservatives in this country won. The people who love our Constitution and love the Bible and love God and love family and love red, white, and blue and the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem, the people who love this nation, believe in this nation, we won. And so it's the greatest ending of all.
Really is, isn't it? And I want to show you this picture. We show it from time to time. We call it President Trump in trouble, in quotes. This is all fake, and he never should have gone through any of this. But there he is in court, showing up, going through the procedure after procedure. He cooperated. And I don't know if he gets enough credit for that. I'm sure it was tempting to like turn your back and say, I don't know, but he went through, he always appeared, for a guy they always say, oh, he's a threat to democracy. He actually participated in the criminal justice system. This corrupt vendetta, he showed up. And I kind of think that's cool.
Very cool, Greg. Very, very cool. We're going to switch gears now for our final segment today and head over to our Israeli update, or Israel update, I should say, from October 1st, where we have some major innovation updates from our greatest ally. And last night, October 1st, marked the start of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement for 2025, which is one, if not the holiest day of the year for the Jewish people. Now is a time for repentance and forgiveness and peace. Now, unfortunately, last night there was a terror attack at a synagogue in Manchester in the UK where an individual, a terrorist, rammed his car into a crowd and stabbed several people, leaving 2 dead and several others injured. The suspect was apprehended and shot, according to the latest reports at the time of production of this podcast. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer issued a statement on X where he claimed to be appalled by the attack. However, Starmer has consistently pushed pro-Palestinian rhetoric, with some saying he is directly responsible for sowing the seeds of hatred against the Jewish people of Britain and abroad. Unfortunately, this was not part of the update, but I will be sure to bring you more news on this tomorrow as it develops.
I'm Katrina Zish, and here is your Israel update. In the race for medical innovation, Israel just scored a global win. Sheba Medical Center, right outside Tel Aviv, just landed a spot in the global top 10 for the world's best smart hospitals of 2026. Now, the hospital is celebrated for cutting-edge AI, robotics, and telemedicine, innovation that is taking patient care to a whole new level. Let's go now to our Israel correspondent, Jodie Cohen, with the report.
People here in Israel are preparing for the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur. I've been here on the streets of Jerusalem by the Old City asking people what they're going to be praying for this Yom Kippur.
For the war to end and for Israel to win.
That this war should just end and Israel should have peace and love to everyone.
That my family will be okay, and that's it.
Just to get closer to my faith with the man upstairs.
Yeah, I'm here with over 500 Christians that come and pray for Israel.
That we are going to win the war.
For the peace in Israel, for our safety, no more war.
Yeah, I think this year Yom Kippur is going to be a year of praying for peace and for everybody to be safe and have a good year and to accomplish whatever it is that's important to them, and to also reflect on whatever it is that they learned from the past year.
So as you heard just now, many people will be praying for the same things this Yom Kippur, for the return of all the hostages, for peace in the Holy Land and all over the world.
Thank you for listening to the Newsmax Daily Podcast. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Again, my name is Kay Smythe-Hill, filling in for Tony Marino. We will be back tomorrow with another update from all of your favorite Newsmax hosts. Until then, I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.